Cronenbourg 1664. Sponsor du Tour de France.
And yesterday, the whole entourage, more than 3,000 people, entered the new Channel Tunnel. The first public journey for the people of the Tour de France as they make their way now to Great Britain for 2 days. Channel 4 bringing you the exclusive pictures. So the race of 4,000 kilometres now will face 2 days in Britain. The riders, the entourage, the following vehicles, and more than 1,000 media making their way through to Folkestone after the team time trial yesterday. The famous red cars that guide the Tour de France around on board and will shortly be seen on the roads of East Sussex, Kent, Hampshire and Sussex again tomorrow. A unique happening, and indeed the interest clearly here in Great Britain to see the arrival of the Tour de France, lock, stock and gears. Hello and welcome. You can see now Dover Castle, this beautiful Norman castle built in the 1100s, in the 12th century, and a massive crowd here as riders now prepare for 2 days in Britain with a ride from Dover across down to Brighton. And here we have members of the Word Perfect team finding it a little bit strange now to be sitting around in Great Britain. This is the route. We move out of Dover through to Canterbury, then across to Royal Tunbridge Wells, a special sprint there, through the villages and into Ditchling, and then over the hill and down into Brighton. And he's signing in this morning, Sean Yates. What a marvellous occasion for him, riding his 11th Tour de France. I bet he never dreamt he would one day ride the Tour de France, which will travel today within 3 miles of his home in Forest Row in Sussex. Happy smiles for Sean Yates, and in the background there, the former World Pursuit champion Hugh Porter welcoming him into the grounds of Dover Castle. What a marvellous setting it makes as well, as we have here the castle. I bet it never thought he would welcome the French. It was once upon a time built to keep them out. Well, hello everybody and welcome to the Tour de France in Britain now for 2 days. This really has been 18 months of fine preparation, and now everything put to the test. Up on the battlements here in Dover Castle is Gary Imlach. He'll now tell us just how much preparation Dover Castle has put in to making this race go so well.
Being slap bang on the closest part of Britain to the European mainland, the original purpose of Dover Castle was to keep out those damn French. Now the drawback as far as the Tour's concerned is that nearly 170 years after Napoleon last made it really necessary, this place is still doing a pretty good job.
These days, though, it's not so much the might of the fortifications as the size of the front gate that's keeping them out. And rather than risk more damage to the historic masonry, Dover's gone DIY.
The normal podium will not fit through the castle walls. There's a very small gap, which I think we got through with 6 inches with our small truck. So we're having to bring the whole lot in and start from scratch. I mean, this is a podium tailor-made for tomorrow, you know.
With foreign visitors expected, there was also housework to do yesterday. And after the start line got spruced up with a new coat of paint, someone looked at the adjacent bank and said, "Sod it."
Instant grass.
Meanwhile, in another part of the castle, the English Heritage Tour Cabinet was planning for invasion.
I don't think they'll even get that far because the police will stop them at the bottom.
And of course, if the police don't get them, the beauty of the castle is that it has a range of other remedies at its disposal. In any case, the police, led by the man with the unlikely but true name of Superintendent Copper, have other things to worry about, like making sure none of their officers has a camera on him.
After that accident which we witnessed the other day, I mean, I would hope that all the officers on the route, and there are a number of junctions across the whole county, obviously being covered, will take precautions not to get in the way of the cycles.
And just to make sure the crowds don't either, Dover Castle has temporarily pressed the sandbags from its World War II exhibit back into service. Tourists were still welcome yesterday, although the French ones over for the race must have caused confusion at the Castle Cafe when they ordered the Dover Deal sandwich. Cycle races having been thin on the ground in medieval Britain, the Castle isn't really designed for 200 or so riders. The peloton will be fairly tightly packed for the opening section of the race before it leaves the Castle and heads for the open road. And it's not only the cyclists who are being squeezed here in Dover. For safety and security reasons, the police have limited numbers inside the Castle to just 1,300, which means despite the fact that admission's free, this is a very valuable piece of paper indeed.
Thanks, Gary, and I know that all the people here have come to see this man alongside me now. Just about 15 minutes to go, Sean, but they're all here to welcome you, aren't they?
Yeah, it's great. You know, I've always had a good support from people from England. They've often come over to watch the tour, and this is a great opportunity for them to see it again, and they don't have to travel.
Now, they tell me Mum and Dad will be just down the end of the road today. Are you going to hope the riders will let you go ahead and say hi?
Yeah, you never know. It's only 50 kilometres from the finish, so they could be racing quite hard. But if they're not, then I'm definitely going to take the opportunity and stop and say hello, and it should be fun.
Now, I know you hate predicting, but are you going to try to win the stage today?
You know, it's very hard. It's very hard in the finals here, and I've had pretty good legs, so I might have a dig and wait and see.
Okay, well, the very best of luck, Sean, because I know everybody is going to really support you on the road today, and I expect that we'll see your name shouted above the rest of them. Well, the very best of luck to Sean Yates. We would now like to look back because the crowd have been well entertained here this morning, and this is some of the happenings that they have witnessed.
Okay, let's do it now. 2 minutes falling down, 2 minutes falling down, they'll break off. As they fall, they'll come down at 1,000 foot every 3 seconds. A couple of seconds to see the open machine, open the carpet, and then using the puzzle, so we'll move and take each one French checker today. Well, I'm a good start from there. It makes it look so easy. The final man running again, a signing cut from the team leader. Right down the top end, the target free-fall players.
Well, Phil, the piece of paper I showed you before, the ticket may have been important, but nothing's more important than this today. This is the pass that gets you into the VIP area, the Village Départ. Everyone from Sir Jimmy Savile down is here, tucking into this huge spread of food. In fact, if there are a few less of them, we might be able to see some of it. The centrepiece, though, which is over here, if we can weave our way through the drinkers and eaters, is a cake showing the route of the tour today. It's here. Monsieur, pardon? Look at that, a magnificent 6-foot by 4-foot monster with all the major points picked out along the route. There's a slightly worrying-looking crack in the icing from Sissinghurst down to Rye, but otherwise it's a fine piece. I'm off to get a coffee now because, as you know, once the cyclists get here, there'll be a queue a mile long.
Well, joining me now, the man we've talked about since this Tour de France began, Chris Boardman. Chris, you didn't make it in yellow, but the crowd are still loving you just the same.
Well, it's desperately frustrating when you've literally incited Britain to lose the jersey, but I've said it before today, you have to accept that if that's what makes something exciting to watch on television, is because you really don't know what's going to happen. So you have to take the rough with the smooth. Luck just didn't run our way. It did for the 2 days before that, and the race isn't finished yet.
Not at all. Is there a chance you might go again today?
Well, today, obviously, it's in my country. I'll be looking for opportunities, but the Tour, there's no quarter given. So I'll be looking for opportunities, but I'm not going to be staying away all day, and I'm going to tax myself because I'm looking towards that next time trial.
Now, this is your first Tour de France, Chris. A lot of the riders didn't know of you, but you've made such an impression. Have they made any remarks to you, men like Miguel Indurain and Tony Rominger?
From those particular two, it's been pretty quiet, and I like that. I like that because it means something.
It certainly does. Chris, I know you've got to run. We're only a few minutes away from the start, so we won't detain you. But let's have a look now just at what is going on around us here. As we look down here at the castle, it's never seen anything quite like it. And this is the scene. There are literally thousands of people indoors here in the castle grounds. The riders will then run away downstairs and out along the open road as they head out through Kent up towards Canterbury. There's the yellow jersey today. Well, we would have loved it to have been Chris Boardman, but nonetheless, Johan Museeuw is a fine leader of this Tour de France. There's no doubt about that. He's done it before for 3 days a year ago. 185 riders in the race, and 4 riders only having dropped out. One yesterday, funny enough, Bruno Cornier, who crashed in the team time trial and was unable to start this morning. And so, as the riders now prepare for the start of the Tour de France, we will take a short break. Don't go away. Yes, indeed, it was 20 years ago, and now the riders here in Dover Castle are preparing for 4th stage of the Tour de France and the ride of over 200 kilometres to the finish in Brighton. A field of 185 riders. Now looking at the first situation in Britain, and this is the overall situation in the race. Johan Museeuw took the lead yesterday, now 10 seconds ahead of Miguel Indurain, the 3-time winner of the Tour. Rolf Sorensen of Denmark is 3rd. And then a tie for 4th place with Flavio Vanzella and Lance Armstrong of Motorola. Great Britain, Sean Yates is 9th, 34 seconds back. Will he lead by the end of the day? And Chris Boardman down to 20th now, but only 54 seconds behind. Well, my co-commentator Paul Sherwin, 7 times a Tour rider. Many of these riders are very close friends of his. Let's join him down there among them. Paul.
Well, here we are on the start line, Phil. It really is amazing to be at the start of the Tour de France inside Dover Castle. I waited many years to possibly do this. Chris Boardman has got the chance to ride the Tour de France on British soil, maybe for the first time and the last time ever. Here is the man who actually took the yellow jersey from his shoulders and stopped 56 million British people cheering Chris Boardman along the road in the yellow jersey today. But, Johan, how does it feel to have the yellow jersey on British soil?
Very nice. I'm happy.
Chris? We're very happy to see you here at the start in Dover this morning. It's been absolutely fantastic. We all wanted you to bring the yellow jersey, and this is the man who took it away from you. What's it going to be like out there?
Oh, it's going to be hard today. It's a pretty tough course. And having arrived now at the start line, I'm even more disappointed because it would have just been fantastic. But that's the way the racing goes, and that's what makes it good to watch. So, as I said before, the race isn't finished yet.
The race isn't finished yet. We know there are 2 days on British soil, and the roads, you know what the roads are like in England. Johan doesn't. He's not been here before, and there's going to be so many people cheering you on. Will you try and snatch it back from him?
Well, I just have to see, because I'm also there's another time trial coming up, and I don't want to do too much work before that. But being on British soil, I'll look for some opportunities. If one of our eyes, I'll snatch it. But I think people shouldn't forget about Sean Yates either. We passed within a few kilometres of his house, and I think he's going to be very motivated today.
Well, that's been absolutely fantastic. Robert Key, the Minister of Road and Traffic, is down here to start the race for us this morning. How do you feel about bringing such a French race to British soil?
Very proud. Cycling is growing so fast in this country, both as a sport and as a way of just travelling and getting to work. It's terrific. It's good for Britain. It's good for Dover. It's good for cycling. It's good for British beef too.
Well, it seems like everybody down here on the start line is extremely happy. I am as well. I'm sure the whole of the British public will come out today to cheer the riders on the roads of the Tour de France as we head down towards Brighton. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Paul, and I bet you wish you were one of the riders today. And Robert Key there was a new Act of Parliament created for the road closures for the Tour de France today. And now they will roll away from Dover Castle, and they will have a very, very historical tour of Kent before they go across to East Sussex. Sean Yates must be extremely nervous today. He knows that Mum and Dad will be down the road. He says he lives just 3 miles off the course in Forest Row. Jean-Marie Leblanc, twice a rider in the Tour de France, now the director of the Tour itself, and he too extremely proud to have brought the Tour here, the year of the tunnel, and of course the 50th anniversary of D-Day. Well, we always say that we don't get on with the French, but this has been a great Anglo-Franco situation where we have brought together the two countries to bring the Tour here. It's been 2 years of negotiation, both sides walking with the same goal at the end of it. Robert Key with the flag up. 185 riders. So a nice round of applause here in the height of Dover Castle. It's all downhill for the moment, lads, but not for very long, because we head away and we climb a Black House Hill and we'll go over Ditchling Beacon. And the riders will do battle as they have done throughout the roads of all of the other European countries near to France over years gone by, but only once down the Plympton bypass near Plymouth 20 years ago as far as Britain is concerned. The riders led away by the Dutch rider on the Word Perfect team there, and Johan Museeuw starting at the front. The hot seat for him today, because his Italian GB team will now have to try and control this race, and to a degree the French GAN team will be relieved that Chris Boardman has lost the race lead, because they won't be required now to make all of the pacing and all of the chasing. Yates has one ambition today, and if it's not to win the stage, and he'd never tell you that because he never has throughout his career predicted what he would do, and he's run some great races including the Tour of Belgium, but he would love to welcome his parents. He's just afraid that being in 9th place in this race, and indeed only 50 kilometres, some 31 miles from the finish, the race won't simply allow him to pedal away and kiss Mum, because in France that is what they would do, but not near the end of the stage. A beautiful shot and the beautiful roads, and the riders down there, Paul, were in buoyant mood.
They really were, Phil. Everyone seems very happy actually to be here on British soil, and also the organisation, talking to Jean-Marie Leblanc just earlier, he said this is fantastic. He said only the British could really have done this.
And the police have done a marvellous job. They were all along the route 2 hours before the race was due to leave here this morning. We saw them down there and in excellent mood. Let's have a look at that route and just remind ourselves where the riders go when they leave Dover. They head up to Canterbury, and then they swing away from Kent and into Sussex at Royal Tunbridge Wells, down through the villages which are in celebratory mood, I know that, and into Ditchling, over the Beacon, and then there's a circuit at Brighton where we expect tens of thousands of people to watch the riders in the Tour de France come in. And there they are, rolling away, neutralised at the moment. That's why the red car is there, to keep them all together, but the descent out of the castle grounds has rather split up the field. But they will come all together before the official start is given, and then they'll head off towards Folkestone. Towards the harbour there, a little nasty climb coming as they leave Folkestone. And then they will move away towards Canterbury, which is waiting to welcome the riders there. A lot of companies today, because of closed roads, have closed down the business and put marquees up and invited their clients in from all over Europe to take part in the celebrations of the passage of the Tour de France. So, as the riders head off into the heart of Dover before they go towards Folkestone, let's join at Rob McCaffrey, who's found himself rather a novel choir singing a familiar song.
Over the white cliffs of Dover, tomorrow just you wait and see.
A traditional British welcome as the Tour comes ashore to Dover, a town steeped in history. Now then, I bet you didn't know that the famous White Cliffs once appeared in Shakespeare's King Lear, Act 4, Scene 1. But then again, I bet Indurain and Rominger have never heard of Vera Lynn.
Some of the boys peddling their wares in the market square seem to have got the time zone wrong, but Dover's enjoying the Tour, and the Tour visitors are enjoying Dover. In the local museum, a cycling exhibition with an amazing coup. The bike of Tom Simpson, the first Briton ever to wear the yellow jersey, right next to the bike of the latest Briton to wear it. You know who?
A bit of an irony, isn't it, that you've got Tom Simpson's bike and Chris Boardman's bike. This is the actual bike he died on, I understand.
That's right. This is Tom Simpson's bike from 1967, which he used in the 1967 Tour, and of course he died on the Fairfield stage.
You should have a big poster outside saying we've got both bikes.
That's right, yes we should, yes.
Have more people come in to see it as a result of Boardman's exploit?
We hope so. I mean, it is unusual to have the two bikes used by the two Britons who now have both won the yellow jersey.
The bunting lining the street seems to be favouring the French, the feel of a royal wedding with an international touch. Everyone's sitting pretty, if you know what I mean. But without question, the Tour has captured the imagination of the young. At the local Harbour Special School, they've been designing T-shirts for the occasion, colourful and artistic, and they certainly know their cycling. Do you like the Tour de France? Have you been watching it on television? You don't like it?
Well, I do like it, but I don't know which channel.
You don't know what channel is it on?
I know.
Right, channel 4 it's on. Will you watch this evening?
Yeah.
They'll certainly be watching at the Royal Sank Yacht Club, a place that will always be forever England. And you can't have a celebration without the red arrows, can you? Has it been exciting?
Very exciting, yes. A lot of hard work, but very exciting.
And money coming into the town, presumably?
Well, we're estimating if everybody arrives in time, we should get around about £2 million.
And do you think you'll sell more of these? A council edition Viral in the White Cliffs of Dover?
Who knows? It may be top of hit parade again.
Stranger things have happened, but eccentric move of the day, without doubt, the mountain bike perched on top of the roof. The scaffolding lads just turned up to find it there. When did it go up?
This morning. It must last night or this morning. It was there this morning when we came in.
Did he get a shock?
Well, yeah, it was a bit of a surprise. I wondered how he got up here.
Do you think he's got a chance of winning?
I think I'd have a few bob on a place anyway.
Good on you. Well, the race is now rolling away, heading towards Capel-le-Fern. Its way through the focus. Live pictures now of the 185 riders in the Tour, of the 189 that set off from Lille last Saturday. They're still in neutralised formation before they move away down to the race start proper, and then battle will commence, Paul, out on the open roads of Great Britain.
Definitely, they're going to be two very nervous riders out there. That's Chris Boardman and Sean Yates. Sean's family are out on the race route to watch him, and I'm sure many of his former club mates will be there too.
So the field coming together. Remember, some 3,000 people form the entourage of the Tour de France. The following backup vehicles, the doctors, the mechanics, the physiotherapists, and the last vehicle on the road, what they call the sag wagon, the broom wagon that sweeps up if a rider decides to retire, and they take him away. So there they are, and lovely crowds lining the route down there. We expect to see crowds like this now all of the way as they make their way through Kent, Canterbury, over to East Sussex, Royal Tunbridge Wells, preparing for the arrival in the High Street there, where there's a special time bonus sprint, and then through the villages, including Wivelsfield and Ditchling, where they are planning real celebrations as the riders go through, heading up towards the climb of Ditchling Beacon. So let's remind ourselves then of what we have for you here on Channel 4 today. This afternoon, in between Channel 4 racing, starting at 2:20, regular updates of the race, and our usual programme coming to you this evening at 8:30 p.m. So there they are, the riders are on the way. Stay with us throughout the day here on Channel 4 and enjoy the spectacle, the unusual spectacle, the unique spectacle of the Tour de France in Great Britain for the next 2 days. When they get to Brighton today, they move across to Portsmouth, where they have a big circuit race there that will take them far north and back to Portsmouth. Until we see you later on today, before sharing Gary, Rob and myself, Phil Liggett, goodbye.